a morning Rocket 3 inspired yoga flow today. We're going to be doing a lot of fun inversion options. So we're going to start off practice today by establishing our Ujjayi pranayama, our flowing breath, and also taking a nice little warm up to get our wrists ready for practice. It would be a really nice idea to have some blocks or books or other stable objects nearby in case you need to use them for some of the poses we're going to take. So with that, please join me on the mat and we'll get started. Come into a seated position, resting the sit bones on the heels or taking a cross-legged seat. And we'll just take 3 breaths here with the mouth closed, feeling the vibration in the back of the throat. This is your Ujjayi breath that you'll be using throughout the practice today. Take an inhale and exhale. One more inhale and exhale. Last one, inhale. And on the exhale, sigh it out. On our next inhale, coming up onto the hands and knees for our tabletop. Hips should be stacked over the knees, shoulders stacked over the wrists, tucking the tailbone slightly, bringing some engagement into the core, sucking the belly button into the spine, and slowly begin to rock forwards and backwards, bringing some nice movement through the hips and the wrists. Coming back into a neutral spine position, we'll take an inhale, tilting the pelvis up towards the ceiling, bringing the chest through the arms for our cow pose. And exhale, rounding the shoulders, protracting through the blades of the shoulders and tilting the pelvis towards the ground. Take 2 more rounds of that. Inhale and exhale. Last round of cat-cow. Inhale, coming into cow pose, and exhale, rounding the spine for cat. Inhale brings you back into a neutral tabletop position. And once more, begin to rock forwards and back on the hands, really bringing some warmth into the wrists, maybe going a little bit farther forward than you did before. Now, keeping the palms touching the mat, we're going to turn our hands so that our fingertips are facing away from one another, out towards the sides of the mat, and begin to rock side to side, continuing to get into those wrists. You can go as far to one side or the other as feels good for you, just feeling a really nice stretch in the wrists. Now, placing the tops of the hands onto the mat and pointing the fingertips in towards one another so the palms are facing up towards you. Keep rocking side to side, feeling a nice release on the tops of the wrists. And lastly, flipping the palms so they are face down on the mat, but pointing the fingers back in towards the knees. Slowly begin to once more rock forwards and back, feeling a beautiful stretch through the front of the wrists and the forearms. This might be one of my favorite stretches in yoga. Last rock, inhale and exhale. Coming back into our tabletop position, fingertips are pointed up to the top of the mat. Pointer fingers and middle fingers are parallel to one another. We'll take 1 round of knees, chest, chin here before we begin our flow. So inhale, engage the core, tuck the tailbone. Exhale, slowly begin to lower the chest through the arms, grazing the elbows against the rib cage, tucking the sit bones up to the ceiling as your chest and chin meet the floor, straightening out through the hips, tops of the feet come to place firmly into the mat. We'll inhale, retracting the shoulder blades down the spine, lifting the chest through the arms ever so slightly, keeping a nice bend in the elbows. We'll take a loco breath. And exhale, pushing yourself back up through tabletop. Slowly begin to tuck the toes and roll back up into our first downward facing dog. Expand your shoulder blades across and down the back, taking up lots of space in the back body, keeping a micro bend in the elbows and in the knees, and even bring a nice deep bend into the knees, bringing the tops of the thighs in towards your chest, and then slowly begin to lengthen the spine and straighten out the legs. Heels may come to the floor, but likely, especially if this is your first down dog of the day, they won't meet the mat, and they might not, and that's fine. Take an inhale here, and on your exhale, lift heels, bend knees, look forward. Inhale, step to the top of the mat, gazing forward in a half lift. And exhale, forward fold. Gaze meets your belly button. On our next inhale, raise the arms up, gaze up, lengthen up. And exhale, hands through center to the side for Salutation. We'll take 2 rounds of Sun Salutation, followed by 2 rounds of Sun Salutation A, followed by 2 rounds of Sun Salutation B. All right, let's get into it. Inhale, arms up, gaze up, lengthen up. Exhale, forward fold, gaze navel. Inhale, halfway lift, gazes forward. Exhale, step back through high plank, lowering down. Elbows gaze the rib cage for chaturanga. Knees down or lifted off the mat. Inhale, coming back up. Really feel us like protract through the shoulders, tucking the tailbone, feeling core engagement. Lowering down once again. Elbows at 90 degrees. Inhale. Puff the chest through the arms for your upward dog. Thighs and hips lifted, or take a cobra. Inhale in this pose. Exhale to roll back into your downward facing dog. We'll take 3 breaths in each of our downward facing dogs. So inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Last one, inhale. Exhale, lift heels, bend knees, look forward. Inhale, step, hop, or float to the top of the mat. Gaze forward, lifting the chest. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, arms up, gaze up, lengthen up. And exhale, Salutation. One more round. Inhale, arms up, gaze up, lengthen up. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, step or jump back into chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or upward facing dog, lifting that chest up towards the sky. And exhale, roll back into down dog. Inhale. And exhale. Maybe as you take your breaths, pedaling out through the feet, bending the knees, walking your dog. One more breath. Inhale. And exhale. Lift heels, bend knees, look forward. Inhale, step, hop, or float to the top of the mat, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, arms up, gaze up, lengthen up. Exhale, Salutation. Prepare for Sun B. Inhale, weight in the heels. Squat down into your imaginary chair, taking Utkatasana pose. Pinkies should try to turn the pinkies slightly in towards one another and gaze up at your thumbs. Exhale, forward fold. Find your belly button. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, step or jump back through chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, roll back, down dog. Inhale, right foot steps forward. Take warrior one or a high lunge. Hips should be squared to the top of the mat. Shoulders stacked over the hips and arms up overhead. Feet should be on 2 parallel lines. And if you're taking warrior one, you'll just pivot that back left heel down so that it's in line with the right heel. Exhale, coming back down through our vinyasa, knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga, upward facing dog or cobra, back to downward facing dog. Inhale, left foot steps forward, high lunge or warrior one on the left side. Hips once again square to the front of the mat, feet on railroad tracks. And exhale through chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Holding here for 3 breaths. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Last one. Inhale. Exhale, lift heels, bend knees, look forward. Inhale, step, hop, or float to the top of the mat. Gaze forward. Exhale, forward fold. Find your belly button. Inhale, sitting back onto the heels, lifting the arms up for chair pose. Exhale, coming into our samasthiti. Last one. Inhale, sitting into chair, utkatasana, looking up at the thumbs. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step or jump back, vinyasa, meeting in downward facing dog on our exhale. Inhale, right foot steps forward, warrior one or lunge. Exhale, hands to the mat, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, left foot steps forward, warrior one or high lunge. Exhale, back down, clear it out, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog for 3 breaths. Inhale and exhale. Remembering to notice that vibration in the back of the throat. Coming back to your Ujjayi breath anytime you feel distracted. Last one. Inhale. Exhale, lift heels, bend knees, look forward. Inhale, step, hop, or float to the top of the mat, gaze forward. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sitting deep into your chair pose, tucking through the tailbone, lifting through the shoulders and the core, gazing up. We'll hold here for 3 breaths. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Last one, gazing up. Inhale and exhale, squatting deeper, interlacing the fingers, extending them out away from the body. Spine is elongated for half chair. Holding for 3, for 2, and 1. Bringing the hands to plant onto the mat. Pivoting the feet out wider than hips distance, ever so slightly. Option here to exhale down into a malasana squat, using the hands in prayer hands and the elbows to widen the knees a bit. If you're feeling very tight in your hips and your ankle flexation is not quite there yet, you can place a block under your sit bones to help you get a little bit stronger and more established in this pose. Option to stay in Malasana or to come play with a crow pose, bringing the knees high up on the triceps. Option to flirt with crow by lifting one foot off the mat placing it down, lifting the other, or gaze forward and lift both feet up off the mat and hold for 3, for 2, for 1. Wherever you're at, step or jump back into chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, roll back, downward facing dog. Inhale, right foot steps up to the top of the mat. Warrior 1. Exhale, opening the hips to the left side of the mat for warrior 2. Front knee is actively bent. Back heel is in line with the front heel. Toes facing out towards the side or slightly turned in so they're slightly at about a 45-degree angle. Arms are reaching away from each other. Gaze is over the right fingertips. Inhale, straighten that front knee, shortening the stance. Exhale, shifting forward, bringing the right hand down to the shin, to the floor or a block. Peeling that left hand up and open, gazing up at the left fingertips or down at the right hand. Holding our Trikonasana for an inhale and exhale, squaring the hips off to the front of the mat, bringing that left heel planted into the mat, but the foot slightly pointed towards the left corner of the mat, feet on 2 parallel lines. Inhale, half lift, and exhale, fold over that front leg for a pyramid pose. Just a short one. Inhale. And on the exhale, grabbing that block if you need it, placing the left hand on the inside or outside of the right foot, opening the chest up to the right side of the room, keeping the hips facing downward in the same line. Option to open that right hand up to the sky or keep it on the hip for your revolved Trikonasana. 1 inhale and exhale, coming back through. Inhale, up into our warrior 2 stance. Exhale, placing that right forearm on top of the right thigh. Careful not to dump into that right shoulder if you're taking this variation. Stay lifted through the chest, circling that left arm up and over the ear. Option to lower the right hand down to the mat, or if you're open already this morning, take a bind around that right leg. Holding here for an inhale and exhale. Next inhale, shifting the hips forward, staying bent in that front knee, lifting the back heel. Inhale, shoulders stack over the hips for our crescent lunge. And exhale, hands come through prayer position, hooking the left elbow on the outside of the right knee, bringing the back knee down if necessary, opening the chest to the right side of the room for our revolved side angle pose. Take an exhale to deepen the twist. One more, inhale. Exhale, deepen further into that twist, looking over the right shoulder. On our next inhale, coming back through crescent lunge. Exhale, hands to the mat. Vinyasa. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Left side, inhale, left foot steps forward. Warrior 1, arms up, look up. Exhale, open up the hips to the right side of the room. Deep bend in that front knee for warrior 2. Gaze is over the left fingertips. Inhale, straighten that front leg, maybe shorten the stance. And exhale, slowly shift forward and drop the left hand down to a block, shin, or the mat. Peel the right arm up for our triangle pose. Gaze is up at the right hand, down at the left foot. Holding here for one more inhale. And on the exhale, squaring the hips back to the front of the mat, bringing that right foot to point towards the right corner of the mat. Heel is planted. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, folding over that straightened front leg for our pyramid pose. Holding here for one inhale. And on the exhale, finding your twist, placing that right hand on the inside of the outside of the left foot, feeling that chest open to the left side of the room for our revolved triangle pose. Inhale and exhale. Twist a little deeper. One more inhale. Exhale, coming back through our warrior two. Arms extended out. Inhale. And exhale, shifting forward, placing that left forearm on the left thigh or onto the mat, or taking a bind or circling that right arm up and over the right ear. Holding here, staying lifted for an inhale and exhale. Next inhale, squaring the hips to the front of the mat, bending through that left knee, lifting the heel, arms up. Inhale for crescent lunge. Exhale, hands to heart center for prayer. Twisting that right elbow on the outside of the left knee, lowering the back knee if needed, extending the arms up or down, or taking a bind. Holding here for one inhale. Exhale, twist a little deeper, gazing over that left shoulder. Inhale, brings you back to center, crescent lunge. Ooh. Keeping your balance. Exhale, hands to the mat, lower down chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. We're going to take some fun playtime here, taking dolphin pose or pincha mayurasana. Inhale, lowering the forearms to the mat. Option to stay here in this dolphin hold. Maybe you lower your chin in between the hands for a nice shoulder strengthening exercise. Maybe to flirt around with your pincha, you lift one leg at a time, maybe bringing yourself forward a little bit in the shoulders to simulate some of the sensation of taking a pincha. Or maybe you kick or press yourself up into a pincha pose. Option to keep straight legs or stag the feet. Trying to keep the pelvis in a neutral position, tucking the tailbone and engaging the core. We'll be here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Either meet back in downward facing dog or take your vinyasa. Everyone eventually back in downward facing dog. So options to get back into a forward folded position in the back of the mat. Walk your hands slowly back until they meet the feet, taking middle finger and pointer finger wrapped around the big toes. Or option to take a rocket whoosh. If you're taking the whoosh option, inhale brings the shoulders over the wrists, and exhale, you want to whoosh yourself so your hands don't touch the floor in between your hands and your feet, finding your way to a forward fold position at the back of the mat, hooking the fingers on the big toes. Inhale to half lift, and exhale, widening the elbows out,
for your YWCA forward fold. Hanging out here for 3 breaths. Inhale. Exhale. Soften the spine. Feeling the weight of the body pressing you down closer to the floor. Knees can be slightly bent here if that feels good for you. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Inhale. Exhale. Sliding the palms of the hands under the feet so that the toes meet the wrists. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale, folding into our Padahastasana forward fold variation. Or option to grab onto opposite elbows and just hang out in a ragdoll. If you're sick of forward folding already, you have options to take Titivasana binds. So bringing the shoulder underneath the thigh, binding behind the lower back, grabbing the left wrist with the right hand. Option to stay here, if this feels good, or to put the weight in the left foot and slowly lifting that right knee up off the mat, or right foot up off the mat, and maybe extending that right leg out for a bird of paradise pose. Option to take it on the other side, or option to just hang out in whatever forward fold you choose. Taking one more inhale, and exhale, sigh it out. Slowly rolling one vertebrae up at a time until you find yourself in a standing position at the back of the mat. So we're going to have a little bit of fun getting up to the front of the mat to begin our standing balance sequence. So, option if you want is to come up onto your tiptoes with your hands above your head and slowly walk on your tiptoes, trying to keep your balance up to the front of the mat. Maybe you walk back one more time because you're really enjoying this. Or option to play around with some pressed handstand hops. So placing the palms of the hands down firmly into the mat, bringing the shoulders over the wrists, really protract out through the scapula, and bringing the tops of the thighs into the chest and pushing into the shoulders as you might lift your feet and bring them to touch the wrists. Moving the hands forward and repeating. If you already have press handstand, you'll find that you'll get a lot of float time to bring those feet to the wrists. And if you don't, this is a great drill to practice getting up into your press. Meeting up at the top of the mat, inhale, halfway lift, exhale, forward fold. Inhale, arms up, gaze up, lengthen up, and exhale, Samastitihi. Let's take our standing balances. Bringing the left hand to the left hip, bringing the right knee into the chest, or hooking the fingers onto the right big toe and extending the right foot out in front of you. We'll hold here for an inhale. Exhale, option to fold over that front leg, or opening the hip out, bringing that right leg out to the right side and gazing over the left shoulder. Balancing here for a breath. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, bringing that right foot back outstretched in front of you. And on the exhale, you're going to switch the grip over to your left hand. Peel that right hand back towards the back of the room and twist. into the standing twisted balance. If you're having a difficult time balancing in this posture, you have the option to bend the knee and just hold the right knee with the left hand. Trying to gaze back at those right fingertips, holding here for one more inhale. And exhale, twist a little deeper. Inhale, coming back to center, letting go of that front leg and letting it hold out in front of you, keeping that right quad strong for 3. For 2, lift it a little bit higher, and 1, slowly bring that right leg back behind you, hips square to the mat, right foot is flexed for warrior 3. Arms can either be in an airplane position or for hands at the chest, or if you're looking for a real big balance challenge, extend them out overhead. Holding here for 3, for 2, and 1. Lowering the hands down to the mat, taking our standing splits. Option to grab onto the back of the left shin with the left hand, keeping the hips as squared as possible, even if that means that your right leg doesn't lift as high. You want to protect the hips here. Option, if you want to get upside down and play a little bit, to take 3 handstand hops. Wherever you're taking, jump back through your chaturanga on the exhale. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, roll back into downward facing dog. Inhale here, and exhale. Inhale, and exhale. Lift heels, bend knees, look forward. Inhale, step, hop, or float to the top of the mat, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, arms up overhead, gaze up, lengthen up. Exhale, hands at the side for Samasthiti. Other side, taking the right hand to the right hip. Inhale to bring that left foot or left knee into the chest, or left foot extended out in front of you. And exhale, settle into the balance. Option to fold over that front leg if that's in your practice, and if you're not going to completely lose balance like I am. You'll find that your balance is better on one leg versus the other, and this is my bad side, so this is going to be fun. Taking one more inhale, and as you exhale, opening that hip out to the left, taking the left leg out. Option to extend that right arm out to the side, or keep it on your hip, and maybe you gaze over the right shoulder. Holding here for 1 inhale, and exhale, bringing that leg back to center, switching the arms, or switching the grip, so that your right hand grabs onto the left toe, or the left knee. Take an inhale to straighten out, and exhale, peel that chest open to the left side, maybe gazing back at that left hand as it points to the back of the room. Holding here for 1 inhale, and exhale, twist a little deeper. On our next inhale, come back to center, letting go of that front leg, letting it hang here, staying strong in that quad for 3. For 2, lift it a little higher if you can, and 1, fly it back into your warrior 3. Making sure that your hips stay square to the mat and that back foot is flexed. Staying strong in that planted leg, even if that means you take a little bit more of a bend in the knee. Holding here for 3, for 2, and 1. Dropping the hands to the mat. Option to take your standing splits, keeping the hands on the mat or assisting yourself by grabbing the right leg with the right hand, keeping those hips square and lifting that left foot up towards the ceiling. Or play around with 3 handstand hops, maybe finding a little float time from your handstand hop or standing splits. Jump back into chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, everyone meets in downward facing dog. Inhale. Exhale, lift heels, bend knees, look forward. Inhale, step, hop, or float to the top of the mat, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, arms up, gaze up, lengthen up. Exhale, samastitihi. Stepping the right foot out towards the back of the mat. Feet are parallel to one another in this wide-legged stance. Take an inhale here, and on the exhale, bring the hands to plant in the same line as your feet, taking a nice wide-legged forward fold. Option to hang out here, feeling the weight of gravity pressing your head closer to the mat. Maybe if your head finds the mat, that forward fold there, you need to bring your feet in a little bit closer to make it a bit more of a challenging stretch for you. Option, if you want to bring the head down and come into a tripod headstand, taking your variation for 3 breaths. Inhale and exhale. 2 more. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, halfway lift, gaze forward. Exhale, bringing it back up into our standing position. Next variation, we'll take bringing the hands to the hips. Inhale here, and exhale, slowly lowering back down into our forward fold. Option here to clasp the hands behind the back, bringing the hands up and over the head, feeling a really nice stretch through the front of the shoulders. Option if you want to take a forearm headstand here. Feel free. It's all about how many times you want to get upside down, if you want to get upside down at all. Maybe playing around with some straddle lift and lowers, or just hanging out in this juicy forward fold. Taking 1 more breath. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, bringing your hands to the hips, halfway lift. Exhale, returning to our starting position. Last variation we'll take here. Inhale, bringing the arms up overhead, stretching up towards the ceiling. Exhale, taking those hands out to hook onto the big toes. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, folding deeply into our last variation of wide-legged forward fold. Option to get upside down once again. If you have your pressed handstand, or if you want to work on your pressed handstand, feel free to get upside down here. I personally am working on it, so I'm going to play a little bit. Holding whatever variation for 2 more breaths. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, halfway lift, and exhale. Slowly Walking the feet out a little bit wider, we're going to take our side splits here. So inhale, turning towards the right leg at the back of the mat, coming into a low lunge with the back knee planted. Feel free to straighten out that front leg for your Ardha Hanumanasana variation, half splits, or bending through that front knee and slowly walking that back leg out farther behind you and maybe coming the whole way down into your split. Holding your variation for 3 breaths. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, exhale. Last inhale, exhale, walking that back leg back in, coming back into that lunge, and shifting over to face the left foot towards the front of the mat. Coming back into that low lunge. This time, right knee is down, facing the front leg. Take an inhale here to prepare. And exhale, shift the hips back, straightening that front leg in your Ardha Hanumanasana on the left side. Or slowly walk that right foot back farther behind you, maybe just hanging in a deeper lunge or taking your full Hanumanasana variation. Option to stay up straight, to maybe take a few bounces, maybe folding over that front leg, whatever's in your practice. Holding for 3 or 2. One more breath. Inhale and exhale, bringing that back leg in, planting both feet back into the ground, coming into our wide-legged position here, and slowly begin to walk the feet out in either direction, coming through your middle splits. Option to skip middle splits entirely and just meet me in our wide-legged seated position. Holding your middle splits if you're taking it for 3, for 2, and 1. Everybody lowering now into our wide-legged forward fold position. Take an inhale here, bringing that right hand under the left thigh or placing the right forearm and palm down on the mat in front of the legs. And inhale, swinging that left arm up and over the ear, trying to grab onto the right toes, opening the chest up towards the ceiling to get a nice side body stretch. We'll hold here for 3 breaths. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, exhale. One more. Inhale, exhale, coming back up into a straight spine position. Taking another inhale here, putting the left hand under the right thigh or planting the left forearm on the ground in front of the legs. And exhale, leaning over towards the left leg, opening the chest up to the ceiling, trying to grab those left toes with the right hand, keeping the sit bones anchored into the mat, taking 3 breaths in this side stretch. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Last one. Inhale, exhale, return to the center. Now it's time for some more play. We're going to take some Mula Bandha checkups on either side, starting on the right leg, You might want to bring your legs in a little bit closer so that when you face one leg or the other, your leg is making a 90-degree angle. So we'll start with the right leg, bringing the hands on either side of the thigh. As you inhale, lowering down deeply over that right thigh, coming into a chaturanga arms position. And exhale, lifting the butt, possibly lifting that front leg. If you can, maybe lifting both feet and holding for 3, 2, 1. Lowering down. If you're cramping, that's completely normal. I don't think I can do this pose without cramping. We're going to go to the other side, repeating all of that on the left leg. Hands planted on either side of the thigh. Inhale deeply over that left thigh, chaturanga arms. And exhale, lifting the butt, possibly the front leg, possibly both legs for 3, for 2, and 1. Lowering down. We'll repeat that one more time on each side. And if it's in your practice, when we go to take our last Mulabandha checkup on the left, you can do a transition through Eka Pada Kundanyasana to get to the back of the mat. Or if you're like me and you can't do that, you can just step back into high plank chaturanga. So coming back over that right thigh. Inhale, bending deeply, chaturanga arms. Exhale, lift for 3, for 2, and 1. Lowering back down. Last time. Inhale, deeply over that left leg. Exhale, lift for 3, for 2, for 1. Stepping or transitioning back through your chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. Take an inhale here. Exhale, sigh it out. Inhale. On our next exhale, lift heels, bend knees, look long. Inhale, step or jump through to sit on your bum. Legs extended out in front of you for our seated sequence. Starting out in Dandasana, hands planted on either side of the sit bones, really lengthening that spine up towards the ceiling for an inhale. And on the exhale, slowly bending over the thighs, hooking those peace fingers onto the toes. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, bending deeply over the thighs. Option if you're tight in your lower back today, to bring in bend through the knees and just rest the chest over the thighs. If you're feeling a lot deeper in this pose, you have the option to grab the feet, grab the bottoms of the feet, or just simply placing the forearms on the floor next to the shins. Holding your variation for 3 deep breaths. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, exhale. Last one, inhale and exhale, coming back up into our seated position. We'll take a reverse plank or reverse tabletop to counteract that forward fold. So placing the hands behind the sit bones, planting the feet into the mat, or just lifting the legs completely straight off the mat, lifting the hips up towards the ceiling, feeling the front body turn on. Option to take the tabletop variation by bringing the feet closer to the body and bending the knees at 90 degrees. Holding your variation for 3 breaths. Inhale. and exhale. 2 more. Inhale and exhale. Last one. Inhale. Exhale, lowering the butt back down to the mat. Maybe shaking out the legs. Bringing the right foot into the chest. We'll take an inhale. Her right leg does not come into the chest. Bringing the right foot into a tree position for YWCA seated pose. Or if half lotus is in your practice, bringing the right foot into half lotus and possibly reaching around the back with the right arm to grab onto the right foot. If you keep your foot in a tree position, exhale to bend forward over that leg and wrap the hands around the front or around the left foot. Holding your variation for 3 deep breaths. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Last one. Inhale and exhale. Inhale brings you back up to a seated position. And exhale, just switching the legs. No vinyasa through. Taking your tree pose or your half tree seated tree pose or your half lotus. Inhale to straighten the spine. Exhale to fold forward. Holding there for 3 breaths. Taking whatever variation is comfortable to your body today. 2 more. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Inhale and exhale. Inhale brings you back up to a straight spine. And exhale, bringing both feet out in front of you. We'll take a boat pose before we transition through our vinyasa. Inhale, lifting the legs up off the mat, keeping the legs straight or bent, taking your Navasana pose. We'll hold here for a count of 10. 9, keep breathing. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, on 1, lowering down into your low boat. Arms can outstretch up overhead, holding here for 10, 9, option to rock the boat back and forth, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, rock back, crossing the ankles, and rock forward, placing the palms down, step or jump back through chaturanga. Exhale. Upward dog. Inhale, lifting the chest. Exhale, rolling back into our downward facing dog. Inhale. Exhale, lift heels, bend knees, look forward. Inhale, step or jump through to our seated Dandasana. Spine is straight. We'll take Marichasana next. Bringing that right foot so that the heel is very close to the little underbutt part of your leg. Making sure there's a fist distance in between your right foot and your left thigh. Inhale to hug that right knee into the chest. And exhale to fold over that left leg. Option to bind the hands around that right leg and fold over the front leg. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Inhale and exhale. Inhale brings you back up into a lifted seat. Place that right hand behind you. We'll take a twist here. Inhale, lifting that left arm up towards the ceiling. And exhale, hooking that left elbow on the outside of the right knee. And bringing that left hand to rest on the outside of the left or the right hip. Or option to bind once again around that right leg. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale to twist deeper. Inhale and exhale, gazing over that right shoulder. Last one, inhale and exhale. Option to take a fun little side crow here, or to head straight back into your seated position facing the front of the room. Straightening that right leg back out, shaking out the legs, bringing that left knee into the chest. Heel coming close to the sit bones, fist distance in between the foot and the thigh. Inhale to lift the chest and lengthen the spine. Exhale, folding over that right leg, maybe grabbing onto the foot or binding around that left knee. Holding for 3 breaths. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Last one. Inhale and exhale. Inhale to sit up tall. Bringing that left hand behind you. Taking that right arm up to the ceiling. Inhale. And exhale, twisting towards the left, hooking that right elbow on the outside of the right or the left knee. Placing the hand on the hip or binding around that left knee. Inhale to lengthen the spine. Exhale to twist deeper. Looking over that left shoulder. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Inhale. Come into your side crow if you want to play around with an arm balance. Exhale. Coming out of it on an inhale, straightening the spine. Exhale, extending the legs, shaking out the legs to release any tension. Bringing both heels now in towards the sit bones, taking the knees out wide. We'll take a Baddha Konasana pose. Inhale to lengthen the spine, holding onto the feet with the arms. And exhale, holding over the legs, either keeping a straight spine or rounding. Option, if this is uncomfortable for you in the knees or the hips, to just take a seated fold, a cross-legged seated fold position. Holding here for 3, for 2, and 1. Coming back up, straightening or lifting the legs off of the mat. Coming into our high boat pose once more for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Arms can reach up towards the ceiling. 5, 4, 3, 2, on 1, crossing at the ankles, rolling forward, step or jump back through chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, shifting forward into a high plank. Really protract out through the shoulders, tucking the tailbone, engaging the core. On a count of 5, we'll slowly lower down to lay down on the mat. So ready? 5, 4, elbows grazing the rib cage. 3, 2, and 1. Lower down. Let's prepare to take some back bends here. Taking our lotus pose, tops of the feet pressing into the mat, hands on either side of the body, facing towards the back of the mat, looking forward. On our inhale, we'll lift up both the arms and the legs and hold our lotus pose for 3 breaths. Inhale and exhale. On each inhale, lengthening the spine, and on each exhale, lifting up a little bit more. Last one. Inhale. And on the exhale, bringing the hands out in front of you, we'll take 10 swimmers here. So lifting the opposite hand and leg, we'll do 10 reps on each side. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Holding here and exhale, letting it all go. Resting your cheek to the mat and preparing to do lotus pose once more. Option to clasp the hands behind the back this time. So facing forward once again. Option to take the same variation as our previous round, or to clasp the hands behind the back. Inhale, lifting up, expanding the chest, protracting the shoulder blades down the spine, lifting the feet, holding here for 3 breaths. In and out. Inhale and exhale. Really engage that back body. Inhale. And on the exhale, once more, bringing the hands outstretched in front of you, either keeping them straight out or taking cactus arms, keeping the feet lifted. We'll do 10 Superman lifts. On the inhale, lift, or on the inhale, slowly lowering down towards the ground. Exhale, lifting up into our Superman. Inhale, lower. Do that for 10 reps. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it here and slowly lowering down, taking maybe your opposite cheek to the mat this time. Bringing the heels in towards the butt, grabbing onto the ankles or the outsides of the feet. We'll take our bow pose back then. So on an inhale, preparing to lift, and on the exhale, lifting up the chest, coming into our bow pose. Option to stay static here and just really focus on the back bend, or option to have a little bit of a belly massage and to rock forwards and back if that feels good for you. We'll hold here for 3 breaths. Inhale and exhale. On your inhales, really lengthening out through the spine. And exhale, maybe coming up a little bit higher. Inhale, exhale. Last one. Inhale and exhale. Release, lowering back down to the mat. Taking a little bit of a rest here. On your next inhale, lifting back up into tabletop or high plank. Exhale, back into downward facing dog, or take your vinyasa, meaning in downward facing dog. Inhale here. Exhale, lift heels, bend knees, look forward. Inhale to slide the knees through to a seated position, maybe catching the mat. and bunching it up a little bit. Coming to sit on the heels, we'll take our camel pose. So coming up to stand on the knees. Option to keep the tops of the feet pressing into the mat or to tuck the toes under. I like to tuck the toes under here, bringing the palms to press into the lower back. Take an inhale here, and as you exhale, slowly keeping the chin tucked, pressing those hips forward, really turning on the glutes and the hamstrings. Slowly lowering back, and eventually you can let your head tilt back. Option if you want to grab the ankles here, take a little bit of a deeper camel. Just make sure your hips are pressing forward. Holding here for 3 breaths. Inhale and exhale. Making sure that you can still breathe properly wherever you're at. Inhale, hips press forward, exhale, go a little deeper into the back bend. Last one, inhale, exhale, tucking the chin to the chest and coming back up into a straight spine. Slowly lowering back down onto the feet and rolling back onto the sit bones. Coming into our bridge or wheel. Slowly lowering the back to beat the mat, keeping the knees bent and feet pressing firmly into the mat. We'll take 1 round of bridge, and then for our second round, if you feel comfortable taking wheel on your own, that's fine. I'm going to take bridge for both rounds because that's just what my body's feeling today. Take an inhale, and on the exhale, lifting yourself up, lifting the hips up into your bridge position. Option to have the forearms pressing firmly into the mat or to clasp under the back and the body. Holding here for 3 breaths. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, exhale. Last one. Inhale. Exhale, slowly lowering the spine back down to the mat. Option to take a few hip movements side to side, bringing the legs onto either side of the body, maybe hugging your knees into the chest for a nice low back release. Last round here of bridge, or option to plant your hands next to your ears and press up into a wheel close. So on an inhale, prepare, exhale, pressing into the feet, lifting up into your wheel or your bridge. If you're taking wheel, make sure your knees are pressing forward and not just knocking out to either side. You want to be strong, feeling a lot of engagement in your glutes and in your hips. 2 more breaths here. Inhale and exhale. Last one. Inhale. Exhale, tucking the chin in toward the chest and lowering back down. This time, definitely hugging the knees into the chest to release the low back. Begin to rock yourself forwards and back a little bit, and eventually getting enough momentum to bring yourself up and through a vinyasa or step straight back into downward facing dog. Inhale, lift that right leg up and back for a 3-legged dog, keeping the foot flexed. Exhale, bringing the knee up to the right wrist, placing the shin down, coming into your half pigeon pose here. Option, if pigeon pose can be quite painful for you in your knees, to come into a reclined pigeon, lying on your back, bringing the right ankle to rest on the left thigh, just letting that knee kind of hang open, interlacing the fingers around the left shin, and bringing that knee in towards the chest to feel that hip stretch. If you're feeling fine in this half pigeon, go ahead and inhale to lengthen the spine, and exhale to lower down over that front leg, making sure that your hips are in the same horizontal plane, bringing a block under to rest under the hips if needed. Holding here for 3. Last breath here, inhale. On the exhale, swinging that back leg up and around so that your knees are stacking onto one another. Your feet are out wide from your body, or your feet are facing in opposite directions. Inhale to straighten the chest, and exhale, folding over your cow face pose, feeling a really nice stretch in the outer hips. Option, if you want to feel more of a hip stretch, to just take your feet out wider. If you want less of a stretch, or that's a little too intense, just bring your feet closer into the legs. 2 more breaths here. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Inhale. And exhale. Coming back up. And to unwind and repeat this on the other side, you're just simply either going to place your hands behind you and do a little like showgirl kick, which I just completely butchered, or you're going to turn towards the left foot, which is on the right side of the mat, and walk yourself around, swiveling the hips, and ta-da! That right knee is now on top of the left knee in the same pose, which is pretty cool. So inhale, straightening out the spine, and exhale, folding over the legs, taking 3 deep breaths in this cow face hip opener. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Last one, inhale, exhale, coming back up, kicking that right leg out and back behind you for our half pigeon or reclined pigeon variation on the left side. Inhale to straighten out through the chest and the spine. Exhale to fold over that front leg, or if you're in reclined pigeon, drawing the knee into the chest. Holding your pose for 3 breaths. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, exhale. Last breath. Inhale. And on your exhale, planting the hands, pressing back into a 3-legged dog with the left leg extended out back behind you. Exhale, planting the left foot next to the right. Inhale, coming forward into a high plank. And exhale, clearing it out with your last vinyasa of the practice. Taking 1 inhale here, and exhale, sigh it out. Step or jump through to your seated position. Slowly rolling down onto the back, extending your legs out. We'll take our plow pose here. Inhale, lifting the legs up to a 90-degree angle with the body. And exhale, lifting the hips up and over the head so that your feet come to touch the floor behind the head. Option to take the knees down by the ears for your duck dance pose, or to just hold it in plow. You're also more than welcome to take your legs up into a shoulder stand. Just be very careful that you're not dumping all the weight into the neck. All of the weight should be in the shoulders, and you should be lifting up through the legs as well to take the pressure off. Hanging out here for 3 breaths. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Last one. Inhale. And as you exhale, slowly, with control, 1 vertebrae at a time, lowering the back and the legs back towards the mat. To counteract that pose, we'll go ahead and take 1 more slight back bend for fish pose. Inhale, pressing into the forearms, activating the back body, and exhale, bringing the top of the head to rest onto the mat, feeling a really nice opening through the chest and through the throat. Holding here for 3 breaths. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Last one. Inhale, exhale, pressing back into the forearms, lifting the head, tucking the chin, and lowering down to lie on the mat. Option to bring the knees in for a hug to release the low back, or grab onto the bottoms of the feet, bringing the knees out wide for a happy baby. 1 final hip releasing stretch. Just chilling out here. Getting ready for our final pose, our final resting place on the mat. Extending the legs out in front of you, arms at either side. Taking your Savasana. I invite you to stay here for as long as you like, but at least for 2 minutes, to really soak in the benefits of the practice that we just completed. Noticing all the sounds around you, really sinking into your space, feeling the weight of the body pressing down into the earth. Start to scan from head to toe to see where in your body you feel the breath the most. Taking inhales and exhales here. Slowly begin to wiggle the toes and the fingers, bringing some movement back into the body. Once again, noticing the sounds around you. rolling on to one side of the body, resting the head onto the forearm underneath you, stacking the hips and the knees on top of one another, holding here for one breath. Exhale, let it all out. Using the left or the right hand to plant and push you up into a seated position. Thank you all so much for joining me in class today. I look forward to seeing you all hopefully soon on the mat.